failure to launch can happen in many different ways in boating. Now, of course, the most common one you'll think of is trying to launch the boat, but sometimes you'll have a failure to launch when you're trying to bring it in, just like some of the things we'll witness in this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. Now, of course, launching a boat can be one of the more difficult tasks in boating, and there's many reasons why this can go wrong. Of course, one of those reasons obviously can be weather. If you're trying to get a boat off the dock in bad weather, it can be a little bit difficult. And then there are many different ways to get a boat launched, and all those ways have their own unique challenges. For example, some people maybe just launch by pushing right off the beach into the surf.
You absolute clowns.
Then of course there's those who have that convenient boat lift in their backyard, but as some people who do have them, they're not always as convenient as you might think. Then of course there's the most common method of launching that boat, and that's going to be towing the boat down to the boat ramp. But there's several challenges that come along with this as well, such as making sure you have the correct tow vehicle, of course making sure the boat ramp you're visiting is not too busy or an inconvenience to get to, and then you've got to watch out for the other morons who are out on the road that decide they see a nice boat cruising down the highway behind a truck and that they're going to go ahead and take that boat out for you. Now, it's not always going to be somebody else who winds up taking the boat out for you. Every once in a while, well, it'll be our own fault. We'll be heading down to the boat ramp and things just won't go our way. Won't be anybody else's fault but our own, and the boat will wind up taking itself out. Now, some people will have some more unique ways of launching, such as trying to get the boat back off the sandbar or finding some other unique way just to make your launch a little more adventurous.
Are you okay?
Now, getting the boat launched is just the first step to enjoying a fun day out on the water, because once you get out there on the boat, the people who are with you are likely going to want to launch themselves into the water. Now, once you're doing this, always be on the lookout around you to make sure nobody's in your way when you're launching. Like this situation here, I believe they're still looking for this guy. Now, speaking about running into things in the water, of course, that is the golden rule of boating, is never approach anything any faster than you're willing to hit it. Now, of course, if you boat long enough, you're bound to hit something at some point. Now, some things will pop up out of nowhere, and other things you'll see them coming, and for whatever reason, you just can't get out of the way. So as you can see, even though launching the boat can be a struggle from time to time, some of the real struggles begin once you're actually out on the water. Now, just like driving a car, there are rules of the road out on the water, but one of the most important rules I feel far too often gets overlooked. It is your responsibility as a captain to do everything you can to avoid an accident. You would actually be surprised how many boating incidents wind up happening and both boaters get listed at fault because one of the captains had every opportunity to avoid the incident, but because the other boater was breaking a rule, they didn't veer off path to try and avoid the accident.
Did not make. Oh, we are bottom.
And speaking of veering off path, one thing you don't want to do in boating is try and take shortcuts because you never know what's going to be in your way. You always want to try and stay in the marked channel. Now, of course, we've talked about all the fun of failure to launch, but what else is fun in boating? Well, that's bringing that boat back in. Sometimes it can be just as exciting to bring the boat back into the dock as it is when you're trying to leave. Things can go wrong just as easily and sometimes even more easily when you're approaching a dock. Again, that common rule, never approach anything any faster than you're willing to hit it, I guess that applies when you're leaving the vessel as well. Because the last thing you want to do is come into the dock a little too hot. That one never ends up well for you. And then of course there are times maybe you do want to come back into the dock kind of hot because you need to get the boat back over there as fast as you can. This situation's a little wild to me. One, how in the world did they let it get this bad? I mean, they're obviously taking on water somewhere, but I'm not sure what they're really thinking here. You can let me know in the comments, because what they're doing is trying to tie this up to the dock. But this is a massive boat that is going down. I don't imagine any lines they have on this vessel are gonna be enough to try and keep it afloat with the dock. I have to imagine those cleats are just gonna pop off as this thing continues to go down. Now, if you listen closely, you can hear the pumps running in the background, so there is some sort of pump running trying to get this water out, but it's awfully tough when those gunnels are already below the water line. But let me know in the comments, what would you do in this situation if this was you? Even me right now, off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure what I would do. Obviously, the thing I want is one of those Coast Guard pumps that pumps a ton of water out extremely fast, and I gotta imagine if I had a vessel this size, I would probably consider keeping a pump like that on my boat Because the reality is the way to save this is never let it get this far. But unfortunately at this point in time, even with one of those pumps, it will be a tough save. But let me know in the comments what you would do. Thanks for watching, crew. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Doug Carroll, Adam Coolidge, Picasso West, Tom G65, and Isaac Burrows did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.